I'm Sue Sagaris, and I run a company called Iris Group, which helps leaders to see into their organisations. I'm so glad I'm here today. It's been a couple of years since I attended a chamber event, and it's such a privilege to be hearing the quality of the input that we're having from this panel. I'm so glad I came, and in particular, I was astonished by the level of detail that you shared with us and how much work's really been going on behind the scenes. And what saddens me is that in the public debate, we just don't get to hear as much of what you've shared with us. And, you know, so many of the issues that we do hear about are reduced to these little sound bites, and then they go and polarise it somehow in the media, and it's all watered down. And, you know, the valuing of these new projects, only a couple of weeks ago, they were sending up Mr. Turnbull on that very same topic. And I just wonder, how can you get out more? You know, how can you actually, do you have some plans to foster quality communication of the sort that you're having with us today?
I might zero that into the local environment if I can, and perhaps have Michelle, the Mayor, respond to that question.
Absolutely, that's a great question. I think that's one of the challenges for council, is communicating with the community as to what's going on and why it's going on and how it's going on. And we actually do spend a lot of time working with our community through our corporate comms team, talking about what's going on and why. And we do work very hard at trying to get those key messages out there. Sometimes we do struggle with the media. Media does like sensational stories all the time, but we still plug away through the communications that we have to communicate with the residents. And I think, on reflection, I think we've done a fairly good job of that. If you look at, for example, the increase of high density in the hills, I think the community has gotten on board with that and understands exactly why we're doing that and why that's going on. Whereas 10 years ago, the community would have gone completely insane, because it is a change in lifestyle, and it is a change in thinking for this area, which has gone from a low residential area to areas now of high density. And we are talking, you know, 20-storey buildings in our town centres, and that of course is, I call that a maturing view on height. And we are having those debates with the community and in the community, and trying to get our message across as to what we're doing and why we're doing. And obviously with that one, it is a sensitive issue, because people come to the hills for all sorts of reasons, and we do have residents who have been here 40, 50 years who have seen the transformation from you know, our market gardens to single lot dwellings and to now high rise, and that is a change in thinking. But we do work incredibly hard with working with our local members, with working with government, working with whatever stakeholders are out there to try and get across what we're doing and why we're doing. And I think we've been pretty successful so far. That's not to say that there aren't challenges coming our way. We do have to make tough, hard decisions that are often not popular. I mean, we quite often get beaten up, and that's always going to occur, particularly when people don't understand what's going on and why. It comes with the territory, really. Being a mayor, you expect to have a bit of flack every now and then, but it's all about making sure we're making those right decisions in the long-term interest of our community. But again, we still have to continue working with the community, working with the media outlets, working with our corp comms team to try and get that message across to our residents. And, you know, there's always going to be a section of the community that don't read the local papers, not on the internet, don't read the mail that we send them, and that comes with the turf, unfortunately. But we're doing everything we can, particularly at this time, and particularly with the changes that are occurring. You'll see us working even harder with the Hills Hawkesbury merger as well, as we begin to communicate, as soon as we get the tick off, of course, begin to communicate with that community as well. So there will be challenges along the way, but we're doing everything we can to work as closely as we can with the community to get our key messages out there and to educate the community as to what we're up to and why we're up to it, and, you know, to let them know that we're not up to anything mischievous or anything that's going to be detrimental to the area.
Thank you, Michelle. Gary White was interested in making a comment to that too. And I'll take one more question from the audience if you want to have a think there.
Anthony, I just wanted to say the reason I focus so much on my presentation around the service economy, because it is the service economy that is feeling this change that the Minister talked around technology. It's something that's coming through right now. It's coming through in the last 3 to 4 years. It's something that town planners and planning don't necessarily know and feel it coming through. So I say to you that, let me just give you a simple example. Before I joined the government here in New South Wales, I was asked to do an employment analysis on the Gold Coast as it approaches 500,000 people as a local government. We looked at the way the planning system responded around land use zoning designations. So if you go into a simple industrial area, and it is exactly the same as Sydney, I could walk down through any industrial area. They've got all these industrial designations, etc., etc. 75% of uses in industrial area are anything but industrial uses. But the planning framework talks about them as industrial areas. They're not, they're employment hubs, they're employment nodes, and they behave in a different way as a consequence of the way this service economy is washing through. If the planning system doesn't keep up with it, it will move through, and that's why you find 75% of uses in industrial areas anything but industrial uses. You'll have ballets, you'll have gymnasiums, you'll have a whole range of other things that are happening because those new employment sectors that are trying to enter the market can't necessarily find the right spaces in some of the centres where there might be high floor space, rents, etc. So it's up to us as we start to look at our planning, our transportation planning, to look at this in a different way. And it's, as I said, it is happening now. Many of us have never seen it, we've never felt it before, but within 4 years it will have washed through in so many of our areas. So I just wanted to say that to you because I think it's really work in progress and it needs us to keep talking about it as part of this process.